everybody, it's Ryan. Welcome back to How Farms Work. Hannah wants to mow the yard, so we're going to set her loose with the Dixie Chopper. We're just going to take the tarp off. All it really needs is some grease and maybe a quick bath, and we can go ahead and set her loose with this. So I've been going through some pretty big personal lifestyle changes as well as big changes around the farm, but we're not ready to talk about those quite yet. So I've been trying to do everything that I can to make sure that I'm setting myself up for success with the cows. Things have been going really great. I've been putting all my effort into, researching, educating myself with not only the cows, but the crops, really just trying to learn more about how we can improve. And I feel like I'm starting to get to the point now where I can start sharing some of the changes that we've made with you guys. But a lot of recent developments going around the farm. Some I'm going to talk about today. Others probably save for another video. But we'll get to that, guys. Eyes on me. Eyes on me, all right? So anyway, so what's been going on this spring? It's been, so far, a pretty wet spring. And we are behind on planting. Our crop insurance date has come and gone. We actually do have the oats and alfalfa already seeded. However, roughly 2 weeks ago, we had a storm come through, and we had just under 2-inch hail that was sustained for like 15 to 20 minutes. And that resulted in the siding on our house that we just had it was last October, roughly, when we had the siding done on this house. And the one side of the house has a lot of damage, what I would call a lot of damage. And then the north side of the house also has some damage from the hail. But I've also been making some other changes, which we're going to get to in a little bit once we pull the Dixie Chopper out. So let's go ahead and untarp this thing. Hannah and I have been trying to do some spring cleaning in the shed here. And no matter what, things always get extremely dusty over the winter months. But throwing a tarp really helps, but it doesn't keep all of the birds off. Oh man, up, dang it. There we go. Let's go wash this thing down quick and then we'll throw some grease at it. That way, any of the grease will drive out the water that might soak in. I could really use a power washer here, but we have ochre in the water really bad. I'm always afraid that if I buy a power washer to use out here, that it'll just ruin it anyway. All the rust that's in the water. Well, it's going to be my job in the second half of the summer, more than likely. Got to take all the help I can get now. mildly suspicious. I haven't found anything wrong with it yet. So here's the S205. Roughly 10 years ago, we last ran one of these machines. We rented one to help make hay. And overall, I mean, it's a pretty solid machine. Bobcats overall are pretty robust. This machine in particular, you know, I've been pondering the idea of getting a machine that I could use to feed cattle on the drier days. And on the days where the heavier loaders aren't really necessarily needed. I've been talking a lot lately about things that I've been doing to try to improve. One of those things is looking at the overall cost it is to run machines and be able to look at it and go, okay, this machine's costing this much to run. Can I go a cheaper route? That's where this thing kind of culminated from. Overall, like I said, it's not really meant to replace anything. And so far, other than a couple things here and there was a couple things that it needed. We went through and changed all the oils and filters and everything. However, I was using it to pull bales out of the pole shed and it kept dying on me. So what Chad and Travis did right after we got that nasty storm, I believe it was that day, they had it over at the farm and they had to look at the fuel lines, and they found that the fuel line was pinched. And we think that's probably what was causing it. I'm trying to get out of the wind because this wind's blowing up tomorrow's storm. But overall, looking at the engine compartment, it might look dirty. However, I checked this thing over after we went and saw it because I unfortunately bought it sight unseen, didn't go and see it in person. I paid $19,500 for it before the buyer's premium. So roughly it was just over $20,000. And I looked at it going, okay, you know, this machine's going to cost us this much to run. If I can alleviate some of the hours off of our other machines and use this machine more as a communal use, where to be used just to kind of help speed things along for the farm overall. And overall, I mean, other than the fuel issue, it's been solid. This machine did not have any leaks in it whatsoever. Any moisture, anything that you see is entirely from us trying to diagnose the fuel issue and change the filters. I changed every single one. There's one filter underneath the cab that makes quite a mess, and you can actually see the oil still coming off the side. It just needs a quick wash, but otherwise, I thought it was a pretty good deal for only having 1,600 hours on it. To me, that seemed like it was at a pretty good price point. This machine is extremely comparable to our 773 that we've got already. And it's a 2012 model. Unfortunately, it does not have any air conditioning, but I can live without that. You know, like I said, I'm mostly aiming to use this on, you know, feeding cattle, all the routine daily tasks, especially in the middle of winter, that might alleviate some of the stress on the tracks. From repeatedly getting soaked in mud, and you go through freeze and thaw periods repeatedly, at least we do in Wisconsin. And I definitely think that wheel or track machines have their place, and so far I like it. It is more balanced than the 773. It's an S205, which means that it has a 2,050 pound lift capacity, so it's a little bit more souped up than the 773. I think it's got 15 to 20 more horsepower. No DEF, since it is a 2012 model. It's still got the Kubota motors in it, which the Kubota motor is a very reliable motor. Our 773 has over 6,000, 7,000 hours on it the last I knew, and it's been very robust. So like I said, this will make it a lot nicer for like feeding in the winter months, especially going forward. Looking at how the tracks perform on concrete, ideally what I would say is if you're feeding on concrete, I would go with a wheeled machine. If you have to choose between a track or a wheeled loader, I've gotten that question a lot. You know, what do I really prefer? And honestly, they're two completely different machines with two similar but very different purposes. I would 100% use the wheeled loader if you can get away with it on concrete, because it's easier on the concrete. There's less vibration, which can cause damage to concrete if you've got lighter stuff around your farm. Going forward, I priced out what it would cost to completely cement the barnyard, as well as put in a 50-foot by 16-foot feed line down in the steer lot for the cows, which right now they're reversed, which, you know, naming has yet to be changed. But and the quote that I got was roughly $36,000 before any kind of grading or rock or anything. So the last quote that I had gotten was much more than that. So I've been eyeing really hard putting concrete down, and I don't really like the idea of running over new concrete with the track machine, only because seeing what they can do in other places. It's just one of those things where I eventually want to get a bunch of concrete around here, and I would like to have a machine that's dedicated to feeding, because if I have concrete, then I can completely move one machine to just staying with the cows. The other one can be used for the heavier, more important and more difficult tasks around the farm that require that heavier lift capacity and overall heavier machine. But so far it's been serving me pretty good. I've only put like 5 hours on it. It hasn't been that long since I've got the thing, and we've been in a very wet pattern, so I've still been using the JCB to feed cows. This is one of those rare moments where it's dried out. Like I said, we haven't even gotten out into the field yet because it's been such a wet spring. So that's pretty much it for this video. I'll be sure to keep you guys updated. Be sure to check back on Sundays around 11 a.m. I'm doing this as I can. The biggest holdup for me is editing anymore, mostly because my time is spent, taking care of the cows. I'm really focusing heavier on doing a better job as a farmer. And I'm excited to share some of the recent changes with you guys when the time comes. So be sure to stay tuned. But that's pretty much it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out all of our other videos. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Snapchat. All how farms work. And with that, we'll see you next time. You turd.